Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Social Work, SOSW, Master's Degree. Master of Social Work, Counselling, MSWC. Second year. MSW-012 Introduction to Life Characteristics and Challenges. Block-1 Infancy and Child. Unit 1 Biological Development. 1.0 Objectives. This unit concentrates on the biological development during infancy and childhood. By the end of this unit, you should be able to know the meaning of development, stages of lifespan and developmental tasks, domains of human development and biological development. Understand the meaning of prenatal development, environmental influences on prenatal development and prenatal care. Describe physical development in infancy, babyhood, early childhood and late childhood and physical hazards related to it. 1.1 Introduction. When we practice counseling, it is necessary that we should understand life characteristics and challenges related to it. From conception to death, an individual keep changing constantly. Each developmental stage has its own specialty. Understanding developmental psychology that looks at development throughout the lifespan, from childhood to adulthood, will help us to understand the client. The scientific study of human development seeks to understand and explain how and why people change throughout life. This includes all aspects of human growth, including physical, emotional, intellectual, social, perceptual and personality development. Topics studied in this field include everything from prenatal development to death. In life characteristics and challenges, age is one of the most important indicators of what an individual should be doing at a specific age. In this unit we will discuss life characteristics and challenges of infancy and childhood, focusing on biological development. In order to understand this, it would be appropriate to know the meaning of development, stages of lifespan, developmental tasks in each stage, domains of human development and biological development. In this endeavor, it would be a pity to understand the meaning of prenatal development, environmental influences on prenatal development and prenatal care. This would help us to understand physical development in infancy, babyhood, early childhood and late childhood and physical hazards related to it. 1.2 Meaning of human development. Development describes the growth of human beings throughout the lifespan. Development is defined as the orderly and sequential changes that occur with the passage of time as an organism moves from conception to death. It is a process in which the internal physiological changes and the psychological process stimulated by them are integrated in a way which enables individual to master further and new environmental stimulations. Development occurs through processes that are biologically programmed within the organism, nature, and processes of interaction with the environment, nurture, that transform the organism. The goal of development is to enable people to adapt to the environment in which they live. Regardless of how long or short the total lifespan is, it is usually subdivided into stages or periods, each of which is characterized by certain behavioral or developmental characteristics. According to Herlog B. 1981, stages in lifespan can be divided into 10 periods. 1. Prenatal period, conception to birth. 2. Infancy, birth to end of the second week. 3. Babyhood, end of second week to end of second year. 4. Early childhood, 2 to 6 years, preschool years. 5. Late childhood, 6 to 10 or 12 years, elementary school years. 6 puberty or pre-adolescence, 10 or 12 to 13 or 14 years. 7 adolescence, 13 or 14 to 18 years. 8 early adulthood, 18 to 40 years. 9 middle age, 40 to 60 years. 10 old age, 60 years to death. Not all individuals reach these stages at the same time and not all pass through all of them. But each stage has problems that must be solved before the individual can progress to the next stage. Failure to do so results in immaturity and poor adjustment. Developmental tasks. According to Augustine, 1953, a developmental task is a task which arises at or about a certain period in the life of the individual, successful achievement of which leads to happiness and success with later tasks, while failure leads to unhappiness and difficulty with later tasks. They serve three useful purposes. They are: 8. Guidelines that enable individuals to know what society expects of them at given age. B. They motivate individuals to do what the social group expects them to do at certain ages during their lives. And C. They show individuals what lies ahead and what they will be expected to do when they reach their next stage of development. Developmental tasks play an important role in setting guidelines for normal development. Anything that interferes with their mastery may be regarded as a potential hazard. The three common potential hazards relating to developmental tasks are: A. Inappropriate expectations. B. The bypassing of a stage of development due to failure to master the developmental tasks for that stage. And C. The crisis individuals experience as they pass from one stage of development to another. Domains of human development. The domains of human development include physical, cognitive, emotional, and social development. Physical development, it involves changes that occur in a person's body, including changes in weight, height, in the brain, heart, and other organ structures and processes, and skeletal, muscular, and neurological features that affect motor skills. Physical growth is perhaps the most obvious. With regard to the development and growth pattern of the child, it is almost similar for all babies. There are variations in height, weight, sensory capacities, and other areas of physical development. Biological development is determined by many factors like the prenatal care and nature. Health of the child largely depends upon the health of mother. Cognitive development. Cognition involves changes that occur in mental activity, including changes in sensation, perception, memory, thought, reasoning, and language. Social development. It deals with the adjustment to people, with others, and learn the right ways of interaction. The social domain contains adjustment in variables within social institutions such as personality research, social skills, and developing relationships. Zandernet al. 2007. All domains operate together and are affected by each other. Bird and B. 2006. Prenatal development. The prenatal period or pregnancy with duration of approximately 9 months begins from conception to birth. The new life starts with fertilization, the union of an ovum and a sperm, which results in the formation of zygote. Before they are ready to produce new individuals, male sex cells must go through two preliminary stages: maturation and fertilization. The female sex cells must go through three preliminary stages: maturation, ovulation, and fertilization. Maturation is the process of chromosome reduction through cell division. Maturation of sex cells occurs with sexual maturity. Ovulation is the preliminary stage of development of female sex cells, during which the two ovaries produce a ripe ovum alternatively during each menstrual cycle. At the time of conception, four important conditions: heredity, endowment, sex, number of offspring, the baby's ordinal position in the family, are determined, that influence the individual's later development. Herlocke, 1981. The prenatal period is divided into three subdivisions. A. The period of zygote, which extends from conception to the end of the second week and the fertilized egg is known as a zygote. B. The period of embryo, which extends from the end of the second week to the end of the second lunar month. During the period, major organs and features are formed. C. The period of fetus, which extends from the end of second lunar month to birth. From this period until birth, the fetus grows and puts on weight. The period of embryo is usually regarded as a critical time because the physical features, which are then developing rapidly, can be distorted by unfavorable conditions in the prenatal environment. Prenatal environmental influences. The environmental influences are operating from the moment of conception. The fertilized ovum takes a hazardous week-long journey down the fallopian tube and around the uterus, encountering throughout a highly variable and chemically active medium. The early developing embryo is highly sensitive to mother's ingestion of drugs, medications, and environmental teratogens. Scientists term any environmental agent that contributes to both defects or anomalies a teratogen. Maternal medications, maternal infectious diseases and non-infectious disease can harm the fetus. Papaya, P. De et al. 2003. Name of disease, teratogens and risks on fetus. 1. Mother's diseases like rubella and other infectious agents. Stillbirths, miscarriage, prematurity, mental retardation, substantial risk of blindness, deafness, brain damage and heart disease. 2. Chlamydia, STI, premature delivery. In case of vaginal childbirth, conjunctivitis or blindness or pneumonia. 3. Trichomoniasis, susceptibility to HIV infection, premature delivery and low birth weight baby. 4. Human papillomavirus, HPV, genital warts, birth defects in baby due to the use of dangerous creams. 5. Syphilis, bacterial infection. 6. Genital herpes, miscarriage and risk of getting disease in case of vaginal childbirth. 7. Gonorrhea, risk of getting disease in case of vaginal childbirth, conjunctivitis, or pneumonia. 8. Diabetes, miscarriage, intrauterine death, congenital malformations including neural tube defects, stillbirth, labor and delivery complications, neonatal respiratory distress syndrome. 9. Maternal sensitization, the Rh factor, erythroblastosis fetalis, fatal form of anemia, mental retardation and jaundice in the fetus or newborn. 10. Smoking, prematurity and low birth weight. 11. Alcohol, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, a cluster of severe physical and mental defects caused by alcohol damage to the developing fetus. 12. Oral contraceptives, drugs and other chemicals, abnormalities in the internal organs. Stunting or complete absence of arms, legs and fingers, heart defects, facial disfigurations, mental retardation and attention deficits and sudden infant death syndrome. 13. Radiation can cause spontaneous abortion. 14. Age of the mother, higher risk of infant defect, prematurity and infant death. Environmental factors include physical, psychological and social factors. Physical factors include nutrition, maternal illness, physical activity, drug intake, alcohol, maternal age. Outside environmental hazards, fetal position, fetal size and paternal factors. Psychological factors like too much anxiety and fear may cause increased adrenal functioning. Maternal mental states produce certain hormones which can affect the baby. Mother's emotional state, family atmosphere, warm, supporting relationship between husband and wife, mother's fear or aversion to pregnancy, discomfort due to pregnancy can also affect baby. Social factors like attitudes of significant people toward the newly created individual are established during prenatal period. Of all family attitudes, maternal attitudes are most important because of the close relationship between mother and child during the early formative years of life. Parental attitude, sex of the baby, belief patterns of the society, nature of the family, attitudes of siblings and grandparents, socio-economic situation of the family. Prenatal care. Prenatal care refers to the care and attention given to pregnant women. It includes medical, educational, social and nutritional services. It ensures the well-being of the mother and the baby and enables the baby to enter into the world in good condition. Medical, regular checkup and scanning help to detect defects at the earliest. Abiding by medical advice ensures the good health of the mother and the baby. Educational, pre-pregnancy and pregnancy counseling is helpful. Awareness. Classes regarding such areas such as nutrition, rest, exercise, self-care, sex during pregnancy, coping with discomforts of pregnancy and preparation for birth are also useful. Physical, proper nutrition, sufficient rest, being free from environmental pollution, air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution and food pollution, abstaining from alcohol and other intoxicants and drugs, ensuring good health of the mother are significant in this area. Psychological, mother's emotional well-being, relaxation, healthy family atmosphere, being free from too much tension and conflicts and quarrels, warm, supporting relationship between husband and wife are important. Social, favorable attitude of the mother and the family towards pregnancy, social support, good socio-economic status, high level of education of parents, positive attitude of siblings and grandparents towards pregnancy, willingness to accept the baby irrespective of its sex are significant. Prenatal care is often not evenly distributed. Poverty, illicit pregnancy and unwanted pregnancy are unfavorable factors. More attention is needed for twin pregnancy, teenage pregnancy, unwanted pregnancy, illicit pregnancy, first-time pregnancy and for poor women without sufficient social support. The birth process is divided into 3 stages. The first stage lasts from 12 to 14 hours and ends with cervix fully dilated and the woman ready to push the baby down the birth canal. The second stage is the actual birth and can last from minutes to 3 hours. The third stage is the delivery of the placenta or after birth. Ashford B. 8. Al. 1997. 8. Normal newborn baby weighs between 2.5 to 3 kilograms. Full-term pregnancy lasts from 38 to 41 weeks. 1.3 Physical development in infancy. Infancy. According to the medical terminology, infant is a young child. There is no specific age limit for when the individual ceases to be an infant and becomes a child. The word infant suggests extreme fragile, therefore helplessness. During this period, the newborn's complete helplessness gradually gives way to increasing independence. Infancy is the shortest of all developmental periods and it is a time of radical adjustments. Infancy period is a plateau in development. The growth and development which took place during prenatal period suddenly come to a stop with birth. Infant loses weight after birth, but at the end of this period infant again starts gaining weight. Bell, R. Q. et al. 1971 suggested that infancy is a period of future prediction and is a preview of later development. Infancy is considered a hazardous period in terms of physical and psychological adjustment. According to Herlocke, B. 1981, infancy is the shortest of all developmental periods, and it covers approximately the first 2 weeks of life. The period is usually divided into 2 subdivisions. One is called period of partunate, which lasts from the time the fetus emerges from the mother's body until the umbilical cord has been cut and tied. The second is the period of the neonate, which lasts from the cutting and tying of the umbilical cord to approximately the end of the second week of life. Infants must make 4 major adjustments before they can resume their developmental progress. Adjusting to temperature changes, there is constant temperature of 100 degree F in the uterine sac, while temperature in the hospital or home may vary from 60 to 70 degree B. Breathing. When umbilical cord is cut, infant must start to breathe on its own. C. Sucking and swallowing. The infant must get nourishment by sucking and swallowing, instead of receiving it through umbilical cord. These reflexes are imperfectly developed at birth and the infant often gets less nourishment that is needed and thus loses weight. The elimination. The infant's organs of elimination begin to work soon after birth. Formerly, waste products were eliminated through umbilical cord. If they do not make them quickly, their lives will be threatened. While these adjustments are being made, there is no developmental progress. Instead, the infant remains on a plateau or may even regress to a lower stage of development. The difficulty of adjustment to postnatal life is shown by loss of weight, disorganized behavior and infant mortality. The most important conditions influencing the infant's adjustment to postnatal life are prenatal environment, length of gestation period, kind of birth, postnatal care and parental attitudes. Herlock, H. B. 1981. There is a sudden change seen in infants in terms of their growth. The rapid growth and development which took place during the prenatal period suddenly come to a stop with birth. The changes are manifested in terms of loss of weight and loss of strength and sometimes even the health of the child. This change is seen for several weeks and there will again be a change in the growth pattern. The infant begins to improve. By end of the infancy period, the infant's state of development is usually back to where it was at the time of birth. These changes indicate that the child passes through a phase of getting adjusted with the certain changes both within and outside environment. The health of the infant determines the lifespan health of the individual. This needs lot of care towards the child in getting adjusted to the changing situations. Each child is different and the rate at which each child grows is different. Although the patterns and sequences for growth and development are usually the same for all children, the rates at which individual children reach developmental stages will be different. Novella, J. R. 2009-8. Normal physical growth and motor development proceed according to the cephalocaudal. Growth occurs from top to bottom, and proximodistal, inner to outer growth and motor development proceed from the center of the body outward. Principles. A child's body grows most dramatically during the first year of life. Growth proceeds at a rapid but diminishing rate throughout the first 3 years. Teething begins at about 3 or 4 months. By age 3, all primary teeth are in place. Papalia, P. De et al., 2003. The average infant weighs 7.5 pounds and measures 19.5 inches in length. Boys, born. The whole appear slightly longer and heavier than girls. Neonates born weighing less than 5.5 pounds are of low birth weight. Infants who arrive before their due date are preterm more premature, and these babies may or may not have a low birth weight. Low birth weight, gestation age, body length, bone ossification, head circumference, irritability, reflex, nutritional state, and neurological assessment are also used to determine prematurity. Caputo, D. V. 1970. Babies who arrive on or shortly after their due date are full term. Infants who arrive 2 or more weeks after their due date are post-mature. Both premature and post-mature babies are at higher risk of complications such as sickness, brain damage, or death than are full-term babies. The muscles of the new born infants are soft, small and uncontrolled. The bones, like muscles, are soft and flexible because they are composed chiefly of cartilage, and because of softness, they can readily be distorted, misshapen. The newborn is not a miniature adult. The head is approximately one-fourth of the body length. The adult head, by comparison, is approximately one-seventh of the total body length. The cranial region, the area over the eyes, is proportionally much larger than the rest of the head, while the chin is proportionally much too small. By contrast, the eyes are almost mature in size. The nose is very small and almost flat on the face, while the tiny mouth may look like a slit if the lips are narrow. The neck is so short that it is almost invisible, and the skin covering it lies in thick folds or creases. In the trunk, the shoulders are narrow, while the abdomen is large and bulging. Proportionally, the arms and legs of the infant are much too short for the head and trunk. The hands and feet are miniature. Harlock, H.B., 1981. Physical hazards in infancy. As we have seen earlier, developmental tasks play an important role in setting guidelines for normal development. Anything that interferes with their mastery may be regarded as a potential hazard. The physical hazards of infancy, though of low significance, its effect on infant can affect the entire lifespan of the child. Some of the physical hazards, according to Harlock, H.B., are given below. 1. Unfavorable prenatal environment, prolonged and intense maternal stress, excessive smoking on the part of mother. 2. Complications of pregnancy. These complications include persistent vomiting, vaginal bleeding, toxemia or preeclampsia. Pregnant women exhibit elevated blood pressure, swelling, weight gain and protein in her urine, and intrauterine growth. Retardation. Several environmental factors may affect pregnancy outcome, including maternal age, mothers under 18 or above 35, multiple births, poor nutrition, illness, drug use, cigarette use and stress. Alcohol use during pregnancy may cause the child to suffer from fetal alcohol syndrome, the leading known preventable cause of mental retardation. 3. Birth complications. Such complications include anoxia or insufficient oxygen to the fetus during delivery. Meconium aspiration. Meconium is a waste material in the baby's bowel at birth which is black and tarry, and if baby inhales amniotic fluid contacting meconium, they may develop respiratory problems at birth, malpresentation and a prolonged labor. Birth complications can necessitate birth by cesarean. For multiple birth, children of multiple birth are usually smaller and weaker than singletons as a result of crowding during prenatal period, which inhibits fetal movements. These babies tend to be born prematurely, which adds to their adjustmental problem. 5. Post-maturity. Post-maturity is hazardous only when the fetus becomes so large that the birth requires the use of instruments or surgery, in which case the hazards are due to the conditions associated with birth rather than to post-maturity per se. 6. Prematurity. Prematurity causes more neonatal deaths than any other condition. A major risk factor for newborns is laboratory, either from intrauterine growth, retardation or prematurity, birth before 38 weeks. Premature babies face many problems such as breathing problems, feeding problems, and jaundice. Birth defects may affect development, neural tube defects, chromosomal abnormalities. Phenylketonuria. Baby cannot metabolize a substance known as phenylalanine, found in protein, which can build up and can cause mental retardation and cerebral palsy. Ashford B. 8. Al. 1997. Prematurely born babies usually experience complications in adjusting to the postnatal environment, and these may have a serious effect on future adjustment. The timing of physical hazards and their intensity are more important in the individual's development because of their long-term effects. 1.4 Physical development in babyhood. The babyhood extends from the end of second week to the end of the second year of life. It is the true foundation age and a time of rapid growth and change and decreased dependency. It is the age of increased individuality and the beginning of socialization. Babyhood is a time of sexual typing and creativity. It is an appealing and hazardous age. A toddler is a baby who has achieved enough body control to be relatively independent. Physical development refers to biological changes that children undergo as they grow. Important aspects that determine the progress of physical development in infancy and toddlerhood include physical and brain changes, development of reflexes, motor skills and health issues. Physical growth and development. Physical growth and development occur at gradually decelerated rates throughout babyhood. The pattern of physical development in babyhood according to Harlocky B. 1981 is given below. Birth weight generally doubles by 6 months and triples by the infant's first birthday. Height. A baby grows between 10 and 12 inches in length. Teeth. The average baby has 4 to 6 of the 20 temporary teeth by the age of 1 and 16 by the age of 2. Sense organ development by the age of 3 months. The eye muscles are well enough coordinated to enable babies to see things clearly and distinctly, and the cones are well enough developed to enable them to see colors. Hearing develops rapidly during this time. Smell and taste, which are well developed at birth, continue to improve. During babyhood, babies are highly responsive to skin stimuli. Development of brain. The brain is part of the central nervous system and plays a decisive role in controlling many bodily functions, including both voluntary activities, such as walking or speaking, and involuntary ones, such as breathing or blinking. Fetal and neonatal brain developments are rapid. The lower, or subcortical, areas of the brain, responsible for basic life functions, like breathing, develop first, followed by the higher areas, or cortical areas, responsible for thinking and planning. Most brain changes occur prenatally and soon after birth. At birth, the neonate's brain weighs only 25% of that of an adult brain. By the end of the second year, the brain weighs about 80%, but by age 3, it grows dramatically by producing billions of cells and hundreds of trillions of connections, or synapses, between these cells. By puberty, it weighs nearly 100% of that of an adult brain. Herlock, H.B., 1981. The infant brain also grows to more than half of its adult size. The central nervous system controls sensorimotor functioning. Lateralization tendency of each of the brain's hemispheres to have specialized functions enables each hemisphere of the brain to specialize in different functions. The brain grows most rapidly during the months before and immediately after birth as neurons migrate to their assigned locations, form synaptic connections and undergo integration and differentiation. Cell death, elimination of excess brain cells to achieve more efficient functioning, and myelination, process of coating neurons with a fatty substance called myelin that enables faster communication between cells, improve the efficiency of the nervous system. Papaya, P. De et al., 2003. Development of reflexes. Because infants cannot endure on their own, newborns have specific built-in or pre-wired abilities for survival and adaptive purposes. A reflex is an automatic, involuntary body response to a stimulus that is involuntary, that is, the person has no control over this response. Blinking is a reflex which continues throughout life. There are other reflexes which occur in infancy and also disappear a few weeks or months after birth. The presence of reflexes at birth is an indication of normal brain and nerve development. Reflexes are automatic reactions to stimulation that enable infants to respond to the environment before any learning has taken place. For instance, babies automatically suck when presented with a nipple, turn their heads when a parent speaks, grasp at a finger that is pressed into their hand, and startle when exposed to loud noises. Some reflexes, such as blinking, are permanent. Others, such as grasping, disappear after several months and eventually become voluntary responses. Harlock, H.B., 1981. Muscular development. Muscles of the newborn infant are soft, small, and uncontrolled. At the time of birth, less development has taken place in the muscles of the neck and legs than in those of the hands and arms. The bones, like the muscles, are soft and flexible because they are composed chiefly of cartilage of crystal. Because of their softness, They can readily be misshapen. The skin is soft and often blotchy. The flesh is firm and elastic. Post, P.W. et al., 1976. Motor skills, or behavioral abilities, develop in conjunction with physical growth. In other words, infants must learn to engage in motor activities within the context of their changing bodies. At about 1 month, infants may lift their chins while lying flat on their stomachs. Within another month, infants may raise their chests from the same position. By 3 to 4 months, infants may grasp or still unable to grasp objects because they close their hands reflexively too early or too late, having no control over these movements. By the 5th month, infants may roll over, and by the 8th month, infants may be able to sit without assistance. During this time, infants improve eye-hand coordination, which gives them the ability to pick up objects. Novella, J. R2009b. At about 10 months, toddlers may stand while holding onto an object for support. At about 14 months, toddlers may stand alone and perhaps even walk. Of course, these ages for each motor skill milestone are averages. The rates of physical and motor developments differ among children depending on a variety of factors, including heredity, the amount of activity the child participates in, and the amount of attention the child receives. Motor development follows cephalocaudal and proximodistal patterns, so that motor skills become refined. First from the center and upper body and later from the extremities and lower body. For example, swallowing is refined before walking, and arm movements are refined before hand movements. Physiological functions, development of fundamental physiological patterns of sleeping, eating and elimination should be established, even though the habit formation may not be completed when babyhood ends. In sleep pattern, the duration of night sleep increases from 8.5 hours at 3 weeks to 10 hours at 12 weeks and remains constant during the rest of the year. In eating pattern, from birth to until 4 or 5 months of age, all eating is in the infantile form of sucking and swallowing. Food as a result must be in liquid form. Chewing generally appears in the developmental pattern a month later than biting. Food dislikes, which begin to develop during the second year, are frequently the result of the prolongation of infantile eating patterns. In patterns of elimination, bowel control begins, on the average, at 6 months, and bladder control begins at the age of 15 and 16 months. Health. Normal functioning of the newborn's various body systems is vital to its short-term and long-term health. Less than 1% of babies experience birth trauma or injury incurred during birth. Longitudinal studies have shown that birth trauma, low birth weight, and early sickness can affect later physical and mental health, but usually only if these children grow up in impoverished environments. Most babies tend to be rather hardy and are able to compensate for less than ideal situations early in life. Poor nutrition, hygiene, and medical care also expose a child to unnecessary health risks. Parents need to ensure that their infant eats well, is clean, and receives adequate medical attention. For instance, proper immunization is critical in preventing such contagious diseases as diphtheria, measles, mumps, and polio. A licensed health care specialist can provide parents with charts detailing recommended childhood immunizations. following their recommended childhood immunization and other factors like health and vaccination of mother is pivotal in preventing infant mortality. Infant mortality refers to the percentage of babies that die within the first year of life. Minority infants tend to be at a higher risk of dying, as are low birth weight, premature, and post-mature babies. Availability of health care facilities from the government and the positive health-seeking behavior of women during pregnancy can improve the health of child. Brazilian Neonatal Behavioral Assessment Scale developed in 1973 by Dr. T. Berry. Brazilian and his colleagues is a neurological and behavioral test to measure neonates' response to the environment, is used to assess neonates' responses to their environment, identify problems in neurological functioning and predict future development. Environmental experience can influence a brain development positively or negatively. Diet is important for optimal growth and development. Development of brain and nervous system largely depends upon the mother's milk fed to the child. Papalia, P. D. et al. 2003. The studies have found that the length of breastfeeding is direct bearing on deciding the IQ level of the infants at the latter stage of life. Physical hazards in babyhood. Physical hazards are serious for all babies but especially for those who are born prematurely. Ashford B. et al. 1997. Some of the physical hazards in babyhood, according to Ashford B, are given below. 1. Illness. Although babies are born with some natural immunity to rubella, measles, mumps, polio and diphtheria, this immunity does not last past the age of 3 to 6 months. Babies are susceptible to respiratory infections, cold, bronchitis, and pneumonia. Meningitis, a bacterial infection of the lining of the brain is especially hazardous to babies. 2. Accidents. Babies may often seem like accidents just waiting to happen. Babies climb on chairs that topple over, fall downstairs, eat poisonous plants, choke on small objects and fall headfirst into buckets of water. 3. Colic. Colic refers to patterns of sudden and unexplained outbursts of inconsolable crying. It can be attributed to food allergies, an immature digestive system or immature nervous system and to a nervous caregiver. Babies outgrow this condition by about 3 months of age. 4. Sudden infant death syndrome. SIDS that refers to the unexpected death of an infant, for which no physical cause can be found. Maternal factors include young age, multiple births, smoking, prenatal drug abuse, no prenatal care and closely spaced pregnancies. 5. Malnutrition. Malnutrition may come from inadequate food intake or from an unbalanced diet, can play havoc not only with physical growth but also with mental development. It can cause stunted growth, lead to physical defects such as caries, teeth, bowed legs and tendency to suffer from more or less constant illness. Harlock, H.B., 1981. 1.5 Physical development in early childhood. Childhood is mainly divided into early childhood, which extends from 2 to 6 years, and late childhood, which extends from 6 years until children become sexually mature at approximately at the age of 13 for girls and 14 for boys. Early childhood is labeled by parents as the problem, the troublesome auditory age, preschool age by the educators, and as pre-gang, the exploratory or questioning age by psychologists. Developmental tasks of early childhood according to Havagostim, 1948. 1953. Learning to take solid food, learning to work, learning to talk, learning to control the elimination of body wastes, learning sex differences and sexual modesty, getting ready to read, learning to distinguish right and wrong and beginning to develop a conscience. Physical development proceeds at a slow rate in early childhood, but the physiological habits, whose foundations were laid in babyhood, become well established. The patterns of physical development in early childhood according to Herlocky were given below. Height. The average annual increase in height is 3 inches. Weight. At age 6, children weigh approximately 7 times as much as they did at birth. Bodily proportions changes markedly and the baby look disappears and the facial features remain small, but the chin becomes more pronounced and the neck elongates. There is a gradual decrease in the stockiness of the trunk, and the body tends to become cone-shaped, with a flattened abdomen, a broader and flatter chest, and shoulders that are broader and more squared. The arms and limbs lengthen and may become spindly, and the hands and feet grow bigger. Body build. Differences in body build become apparent for the first time in early childhood: endomorphic, ectomorphic or mesomorphic. Fat children who tend toward endomorphy have more adipose than muscular tissue. Those who tend toward mesomorphy have more muscular than adipose tissue, and those with an ectomorphic build have both small muscles and little adipose tissue. Tip: during the first 4 to 6 months of early childhood, the last 4 baby teeth, the back molars erupt. During the last half year of early childhood, the baby teeth begin to be replaced by permanent teeth. Bones. The bones ossify at different rates in different parts of the body, following the laws of developmental direction. Muscular development. The muscles become larger, stronger, and heavier, with the result that children look thinner as early childhood progresses, even though they weigh more. During this period, a child learns how to coordinate body movements, solve problems, and communicate with others. Motor development is just one of the categories of early childhood development and refers to child's ability to move and control his body. Large motor skills, also known as gross motor skills, refer to a child's ability to use large groups of muscles to move and control the body. These skills are the first to develop in the child's early months of life. During the first 18 months, the child develops the large motor skills necessary to hold her head up independently, turn her body, crawl, stand, balance, rolling over, and walking. Some large motor skills, such as raking arm movements, develop into small motor skills, such as pointing and grasping with the fingers. As the child grows, she will be able to use large motor skills to walk up and down stairs, run, jump, pedal, catch and throw. Small motor skills, also referred to as fine motor skills, are the more specialized motions of the arms, hands and fingers that allow a child to hold and manipulate objects. During the first 18 months, children develop the ability to shift objects from one hand to the other, pick up objects. In the first 5 years, children also use their fine motor skills to dress themselves, use eating utensils, write and draw. Fine motor skills, such as grasping a small piece of food between 2 fingers, tend to become more refined through early childhood. Fine motor skills are also involved in childhood play that requires the manipulation of toy objects. Locomotor skills. Early childhood motor development can also be divided up into additional categories of large motor skills that involve coordinating the entire body. Locomotor skills are the first stage of early childhood development and precede more complex and controlled forms of body movement at any age. Locomotor skills include crawling, walking, running, jumping, and skipping. Stability skills. Stability skills are a second category of large motor skills, and they incorporate the use of balance in body motion. Children develop stability as they learn to turn, twist, bend, roll, swing, and dodge. Stopping a locomotive action such as running or jumping is also a stability skill that develops after the child learns the initial locomotor skills. Manipulation skills. Manipulation skills are the final phase of large motor development and incorporate elements of small motor skills such as use of the hands and fingers to manipulate objects. Throwing, catching, kicking, dribbling, or using any type of sports implement like a racket or bat are all manipulative motor skills. In order for a child to complete the manipulation phase of motor development, he must have already learned the related locomotor and stability skills, since manipulative motor skills require balance and precise control of large groups of muscles. Brain development. The learning process for humans lasts a lifetime. However, the groundwork for experiences of older children and adults is laid during the development of the brain in infancy and early childhood, from senses such as hearing and sight to physical, emotional, and social skills. From birth to 5 years old, children are most apt to develop hearing and sight. Exposing infants to shapes, colors, and movement develops their vision, while voices, music, and sounds help develop their hearing response. Children develop most of their speaking skills that they draw on later in life as infants and toddlers, through exposure to talking and singing as well as interaction with caregivers. Human brains are also more receptive to learning foreign languages in early childhood. Physiological functions. The physiological habits whose foundations were laid in babyhood become well established in early childhood. Children learn to eat their meals at regular times. The young children's appetites are not ravenous, partly because their growth rate has slowed down and partly because they have developed marked food likes and dislikes. 3-year-olds sleep approximately 12 out of the 24 hours. Each successive year during early childhood, the average daily amount of sleep is approximately 1/2 hour less than in the previous year. Bowel control is generally established at the end of babyhood. By the time the child is 3 or 4 years old, bladder control at night should be achieved. By the time the child is ready to enter school, bladder control should be so complete that even fatigue and emotional tension will not interfere with it. Physical hazards in early childhood. The physical hazards of early childhood have physical repercussion, especially such hazards as illness, accidents, and awkwardness. Some of the physical hazards in early childhood according to Herlock, H.B., 1981, are given below. 1. Mortality. Deaths start to decline more rapidly during early childhood. Death in the early childhood more often results from accidents than of illness, and because the boys have more accidents than girls, deaths in early childhood are more frequent among boys than girls. To illness. Young children are highly susceptible to all kinds of illness, though respiratory diseases are the most common. 3. Accidents. Most young children experience cuts, bruises, infections, burns, broken bones, strained muscles, or similar minor disturbances resulting from accidents. 4. Unattractiveness. As early childhood progresses, children become increasingly unattractive, reaching a low point as they emerge into late childhood. Regardless of individuals' age, people react positively to those who are attractive looking and negatively to those who are unattractive. Young children interpret this as rejection and bitterly resent it. 5. Awkwardness. Awkwardness in early childhood may be due to brain damage at birth. Children who are awkward due to delay in their motor development cannot keep up with their age mates, and as a result they are left out of their play. 6. Obesity. Obesity is always a hazard. First, it is a health hazard. It is a hazard to attractiveness. Obesity is a hazard in early childhood because it is the time when eating habits are being established. 1.6 Physical developments in late childhood. Late childhood, which extends from 6 years until children become sexually mature at approximately age 13 for girls and 14 for boys, is labeled by parents as the troublesome, sloppy, or quarrelsome age, by educators as the elementary school age, and by psychologists as the gang age, the age of conformity, or the age of creativity. The developmental tasks of late childhood include learning physical skills necessary for ordinary games, building a wholesome attitude towards oneself as a growing organism, learning to get along with age mates, beginning to develop appropriate masculine or feminine social roles, developing fundamental skills in reading, writing, and calculating, developing concepts necessary for everyday living, developing a conscience, a sense of morality and scale of values, developing attitudes toward social groups and institutions, and achieving personal independence. The physical growth proceeds at a slow and relatively uniform growth, is influenced by the health, nutrition and immunization, gender and intelligence. One child can be in a completely different growth phase than another child who is the exact same age. The disparity in physical development may be due to many factors. One important factor which determines the physical growth of child is based on the hereditary genes play the largest role in how tall he will be and what shape she will have. Other factors, however, can come into play, including nutritional diet, sleep patterns and exercise. Access to medical care can affect growth rates and other aspects of physical development. Height. The annual increase in height is 5 to 6 centimeters annually. Weight. At the onset of puberty, average girl of 12 years should weigh 38.7 kilograms and average boy of the same age 37 kilograms. Body proportion. With regard to the body proportion, although the head is still proportionally too large for the rest of the body, some of the facial disproportions disappear as the mouth and jaw become larger, the forehead broadens and flattens, the lips fill out, the nose becomes larger and acquires more shape, the trunk elongates and becomes slimmer, the neck becomes longer, the chest broadens, the abdomen flattens, the arms and legs lengthen, and the hands and feet grow larger, but at a slow rate. Teeth. By the onset of puberty, a child normally has 28 of the 32 permanent teeth. The last 4, the wisdom teeth, erupt during adolescence. Muscular development. Fat tissue develops more rapidly than muscle tissue, which has a marked growth spurt beginning at puberty. Gross motor skills, such as leaping, running, throwing, catching, climbing and balancing, become easier. Fine motor skills. Using small movements to perform tasks such as tying shoes, writing and playing a musical instrument, also progress. Other motor development includes improvement in eye-hand coordination, reaction time and left-right hand discrimination. Physical hazards in late childhood. Many of the physical hazards of earlier years persist into late childhood. Their effect on the child's physical well-being tend to be less severe and less far-reaching than they were earlier. In addition to illness, accidents, obesity and awkwardness, other physical hazards in late childhood according to Herlock, H.B., 1981, are given below. 1. Sex inappropriate body build. Girls with masculine body builds and boys with girlish physiques are likely to be ridiculed by their peers and pitied by adults. This leads to personal and social maladjustment, though more so for boys than girls. By contrast, a sex-appropriate body build aids good adjustment. 2. Physical disabilities. Many physical disabilities are the after effect of an accident, and these are more common among boys. The seriousness of the after effect depends on the degree of the disability and on the way others treat the child, especially members of the peer group. Most disabled children become inhibited and ill at ease in social situation. As a result, they make poor social adjustments, and this, in turn, affects their personal adjustments. Normal developmental milestones. Edge developmental milestones. 1. Motor behavior. 4 weeks moves head laterally in prone position. 4 weeks momentarily lifts head when prone. 3 months head holding lifts heads to 90 asterisk when prone. 5 months sits with support, rolls over. 6 months lifts heads and upper chest with the support of extended arms. 8 months sits steadily with straight back, crawls early stepping. Movement when feet are placed on ground with support. 10 months pulls from supine to sitting and sitting to standing. Stands without support movement, creeps on ground. Without support of abdomen. 14 to 15 months walks well without support, walks backwards and sideways. 2 years walks well without support, walks backwards and sideways. 2 years runs well, climbs stairs alone, kicks a large ball, throws a ball overhead. 2.5 years walk on tiptoes. 3 years climb stairs in a coordinated manner, with feet. Going up the staircase, rides a tricycle, make a broad jump, jumps in place. 4 years stands on one foot for 5 seconds. 5 years heel to toe walk, jumps on one foot. 2. Adaptive behavior. 4 weeks momentarily regards close moving objects close to midline. 3 months follows the moving objects, even away from midline, converges and focuses. 4 to 5 months grasps objects crudely, reaches to grasp. 6 months transfers objects from one hand to other. 9 to 10 months claps hands and matches two handheld objects in midline, thumb figure grasp. 1 year gives handheld objects to mother, when asked, turns 2 to 3 pages of a book at one time. 1.5 years makes a tower of 3 to 4 cubes. Scribbles spontaneously. Intimating writing, sometimes may draw a vertical line. 2 years turns 1 page of a book at one time, makes a tower of 6 to 7 cubes, draws, copies, a horizontal line. 3 years make a tower of 9 to 10 cubes, make a 3-cube bridge. Draws, copies, a circle. 4 years draws, copies, a cross. 5 years draws, copies, square, draws, copies, a recognizable man. 6 years draws, copies, a triangle. 7 years draws, copies, a diamond. 8 years draws, copies, following figures. 9 years draws, copies, following figures. 3 language. 4 weeks turns head and responds to sound of a bell. Vocalize, apart from crying. 3 months language allowed. 9 months speaks mama, dada, mama, and other vowel sounds, responds to name. 10 months understands spoken speech to some extent, e.g. Where is mama? 1 to 1/4 years uses 3 to 5 words meaningfully. 18 months about 10 words spoken including name. 2 years combines 2 different words, names at least one. Object in picture, points to at least one named body. Part, simple sentence made. 3 years uses plurals, has a fairly good vocabulary. 5 years color naming accurately, primary colors, define. Words. 4. Personal and social behavior. 4 weeks regards face intently. 2-3 months social smile. 3 months recognize mother. 6 months takes food to mouth, smile back at mirror image of self. 9 months responds to social play, resists pulling away of toy. And tries to reach for it, holds milk bottle and eats a biscuit all by oneself. 1.5 years feeds oneself with a spoon, with little spilling, mimics action of others, pulls a toy with string, toilet training. Started. 2 years wears simple garments, socks and shoes. 3 years unbuttons buttons, buckles shoes, can dress and undress, with help. 4 years buttons the dress well, washes own face, plays with other children easily, separates from mother with little difficulty. 5 years dresses without supervision. 1.7 Summary. In this unit, we have discussed meaning of development, stages of lifespan, domains of human development and developmental tasks. In order to understand biological development in infancy and childhood development, we discussed the meaning of prenatal development, environmental influences on prenatal development and prenatal care. The physical development in infancy, babyhood, early childhood and later childhood and physical hazards related to it are also discussed in detail. Role of parents as the primary caregivers are crucial in need to provide opportunities for infants that encourage exploration and curiosity to enhance children's overall development. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.